welcome to the Real Sports Rundown. I am your host, Ryan Gentile. Got a new little thing I'm going to try on the show today. Now, what you got to pay attention to is right here in this area, I'm going to have a nice little bar scrolling across that will have some maybe stats, some names, updates, whatever that I usually can't get to or what I can't say, on show, or maybe something that I forgot, that I just need to add up on there. So that's the new thing on the show. And also, I'm sure you're wondering what's with these two shirts behind me along with this jersey I'm wearing. We'll get to more of that in a second. But first, we got to get to the NBA draft, man. Shaquille O'Neal stole all the thunder out of the NBA draft, him and Vince Carter. Shaquille O'Neal traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now you got Shaq and LeBron on the same team. How is that going to work out? Oh, man, it's going to help out a lot because the Cleveland Cavaliers had a lot of trouble stopping Dwight Howard in the paint. So what do? They get probably the best dominated big man in the league, or at least the biggest, in my opinion. Now, he wasn't the best center of all time. I got at least 3 or 4 ranked above Shaq. But now he's going to help them do a lot of damage in that Eastern Conference. And also now the Orlando Magic traded for Vince Carter. The hometown boys coming back to Orlando. They traded away Rafer Alston, Tony Battie, and Courtney Lee to the New Jersey Nets. Now, do these trades help out both these teams? Yes and no. Cleveland gets help because they needed a big man. Adrianis Ilgauskas, man, he's getting older. He's not as dominating and as physical as Shaquille O'Neal is. So he's going to help in that aspect of it. Does Vince Carter help Orlando? Yes, he does, but he doesn't run the team like Hedo Turkoglu did. Hedo Turkoglu ran that offense. He could shoot the three. He can drive to the hole. Now, not saying that Vince Carter can't, but he's not really the best person to run an offense, even though he was my favorite player, or he still is my favorite North Carolina player of all time. But, Vince Carter is getting older. Hedo Turkoglu was not that old up there, so, you're kind of wondering, does this really benefit the Magic? So it doesn't. Hedo Turkoglu, you're out of Orlando, man. You're moving on. Where do you go from there? Who knows, man. It's a big free agent class this year. Not as big as next year. Not as big. But this year is pretty big. You have Carlos Boozer, Hedo Turkoglu, Kobe Bryant. Even though Kobe Bryant does opt out, he's going back to Los Angeles. There's no question about that. So, does it help out? Maybe it does, but the Eastern Conference, I still believe, is going to be won by Boston next year. Kevin Garnett's coming back from injury. They didn't have to trade anybody away. They still got the big three. I think they're going to be hungry to try to win another championship after losing to Orlando the way they did. So now, speaking of the NBA, we had the draft go on. Blake Griffin went number 1. We all knew that was going to happen. Hasheem Thabeet went number 2 to the Grizzlies. The biggest thing was the Minnesota Timberwolves had 5 first-round draft picks. They wasted 3 of them on point guards. 1 of them they traded away. They drafted Ricky Rubio 5 from Spain or wherever the hell he plays. Johnny Flynn from Syracuse, number 6. And then right after that, a couple of picks later, was Ty Lawson from North Carolina. They traded Ty Lawson to Denver, which was a moot point. They drafted Wayne Ellington from North Carolina. They're going to keep him, they say. And they're claiming they're going to keep Rubio and Flynn, have 2 point guards on the same team. It can work, but you have to figure out a way to make it work, okay? And you can see it, obviously, in Orlando. You had Jameer Nelson and Rafer Alston in the NBA Finals. Stan Van Gundy did not use them the right way at all, and they ended up losing. Now, if he'd have kept Alston in, maybe in certain situations, Orlando might have made it a better series, but they didn't. It just, that's the way it goes. So now what does Minnesota do from here? Well, Ricky Rubio is claiming that he has other offers from people in Europe, so he might wait a couple years to come back. Rumors are he didn't really want to go to Minnesota. He thinks it's too cold. Now, the rumor is Bill Walsh, the GM president of the New York Knicks, is offering to try to get him in a trade. Now, supposedly, if Rubio goes to New York, he said he'll come to the NBA right away. What throws me off about this, don't say it's too cold. Just say you don't want to play in Minnesota, a small market team. Because it's just as cold in New York as it is in Minnesota. So don't use the cold as an excuse, man. If you don't want to play in Minnesota, just say so. Go back to Europe. Go play over there and then re-enter the draft, or stay in Minnesota and hope they trade you, dude. That's all I can say about that. Also, Stephen Curry went to the Golden State Warriors. That's going to help them out a lot, man. They're a fast-paced, up-and-down moving team. Stephen Curry will help them. And the biggest surprise was that Tyler Hansbrough, my favorite player this past year at North Carolina, went number 13 to the Indiana Pacers. Unlucky 13, man. Oh, I hope it doesn't hurt him. But you know what? Playing for Larry Bird, I think, will help out Tyler Hansbrough tremendously. I think he, again, is the biggest steal in this draft. Blake Griffin, good luck in L.A., man, because all it's going to be is Los Angeles Lakers all the time. Unless you can start winning some games, maybe you'll steal some headlines. So, we'll have to wait and see. All right, so now quickly moving on. USA Soccer made it to the FIFA Championship game for the first time in history, and they lost to Brazil 3-2. They had a 2-0 lead. And I don't even watch soccer, but I caught myself flipping back and forth watching this game, man. It was a great game. I was thinking, wow, USA might win this and pull off another huge upset, beating Brazil, which when you think soccer, you think Brazil. So they were up 2-0 at the half, and then Brazil comes out and just whoops them. Scored 3 goals in the second half, ended up winning 3-2. And it's only the second time the USA has lost in after leading 2-0 in 98 matches. So that brings them down to 92-6 overall when they're leading 2-0. So, I mean, congratulations, USA. I think you put soccer on the map just a little bit more than what most people expected you to do. So hopefully, you know, this will be a good transition to the World Cup. If you win the World Cup, hands down, probably the biggest achievement ever in USA soccer. Actually, it will be, because nobody thinks soccer when they think of the USFA. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, what's with this jersey, what's with these 2 shirts? Well, let me tell you something. I was in a softball league before I came up here to go to school. We were named Alot. The first team we put together, we had black and red jerseys. We made the playoffs. It was a foggy night, man. We lost. We were pissed off. We were disappointed. So the next week, the new season kicked off. Guess what? We put together a new team, same jerseys and everything, and we're like, actually, no, it wasn't the same jersey. My apologies. It was actually these jerseys. So anyways, what we did was we put together a new team, and all we did was win the first championship. Here's the shirt to show for it. I still don that thing. So then we're like, you know, where are we going to go from here? How are we going to do this? You know, guess what we did? We repeated that shirt right there. So I talked to my boy Joe Seppi, man. He was telling me they're still wrecking shop down there. I told him I'd bring him on my show. So Joe, Awful Lot crew, Brian Ship, you know, Keith, everybody, anybody that's still on the Awful Lot crew as a retired veteran, because I can't play for you guys anymore. Great job, man. Still rocking the jersey. I still wear my shirts, man. Do it proud. Do it good, baby, because... Now, wait, before I even say our little slogan, people are wondering, what Awful Lot, what does that mean? Think about this. If you're the other team, somebody says, hey, did y'all win? Yeah, man, we beat Awful Lot. It's funny, man. It's funny. Come on now. You got to laugh at that. It's pretty funny. Plus, I love this jersey, man. It's orange because it rocks the same colors of my hometown of LaPorte, baby. The orange and the white. And you can't beat that, man. You just can't beat it. So, you know what? Nobody beats Awful Lot. Guys, get it done. Win those championships. And also, really quickly, I got to point out that I have my fantasy football league that I'm joining with all of my friends that I grew up with. Joseph Palomares, Kyle Mikulin, Michael Sitzman, Stephen James Lundquist, J.R. Palomares, and a bunch of other ones. A couple of guys I haven't met. But either way, guys, every week, once we get the fantasy football thing started, I'm going to talk about every week who won, who lost, who's talking, you know, running their mouth. It will be on the show every single week in the fantasy preview. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And also, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to break down every division of the NFL, who's going to win, who's going to get the wild card, and who's going to the Super Bowl, and who's going to win it all. So stay tuned and make sure you watch that, guys. All right, it's time for the show. You know it. You love it. You can't stand it. And I'm going to show the logo. Oh, I'm not going to show the logo. I'm going to do something else. Spin it. Oh, it's spinning. That's right. It is Quick Hits. It is time for Quick Hits. Quickly running through these. The Cubs are stinking as of late. They are dropping further and lower in the standings in the National League Central. My Astros climbing higher and higher and higher. So guess what, Cubs fans? Astros about to overtake you guys. So cry a little bit more. And also, I got to talk about this too. ESPN does their play. They have apparently had this, like, you know, plays of the decade over the past, you know, since 2000. What's been going on? This is what they have: plays of the decade. They have David Tyree has the catch of the decade in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. Hands down, I agree with that. Moment or best officiating moment of the decade was the tuck rule, when you had Tom Brady going for the pass, and then you had the tuck rule in the snow against the Raiders. Patriots ended up going on winning the Super Bowl. And then, of course, best touchdown celebrations went to Chad Johnson. Oh, sorry, Chad Ochocinco. Can't really argue with that, too, man. He had some good ones. Hitting the pylon, having the Hall of Fame jacket. Those were good ones, too. And also, on a quick note, Mariano Rivera wins his 500, got his 500th save. Second player in history to do that in the Major League Baseball. Right behind Trevor Hoffman, who has 571. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show.